I'll take the roll. Michelle Dravnik.
Here.
Jeff Hostrand.
Here.
Jason Hastings.
Here.
Jordan Spacek is excused. Patricia Steven.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Public comment and communication. I didn't see anybody signed up for anything back there. Have any communication or anything, Joe or Josh? Nick?
There are 1, 2, 3. There are a couple people online. If *6 if you'd like to do public comment. We're good.
All right. Moving on from public comment. Minutes from our February 4th meeting. Looking for a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A motion by Michelle,
Second.
second by Patty. Any other discussion? All those in favor? All right, opposed? Vouchers are making their way around. We can skip that for now. Next meeting is gonna be May 6th. That's our scheduled date. Buildings and ground project updates.
Morning. Our biggest project we've had going on right now is the new HR office that we've been working on completing the last few months. I know that's covered down at number 9, but I'll just briefly go over that quick. Just finishing it up this week. We have some flooring coming in. I'll be installing that later this week, and the new furniture coming in. So that should be ready to move into by next week.
Wow.
Should be, Furniture was supposed to come in last week though, so not guaranteeing anything. So yeah, that's just wrapping up, but that's been the biggest project. Other than that, it's been jail repairs. Had some plumbing issues there, just minor stuff, but get that knocked out. And unfortunately, we still have been doing snow removal. Possibly today, even tomorrow. So, and I'm right now, this goes into like department update too, I guess. I'm down 2 custodians, just medical leave issues. And so we've been covering down, trying to clean the highway department and the normal building. So
You guys are in your department now.
yeah. So the
Okay.
maintenance guys. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
So it's been busy. Yeah. But
One other project that we just ran around and we're working on. If you notice the parking lot behind the courthouse, it was pretty empty because we've asked the sheriff's department had their squad meeting, and now they're all parking their personal vehicles over in the parking lot by the water tower. And then the back row will be where squad cars are. So the first 5, 6 spots, we haven't made a final determination. We'll have law enforcement parking only along the road. Josh, Laura, and I walked around. We've working with Josh to make sure he can hang a sign in certain spots, but we're working on designing or getting those designed for courthouse, sheriff's department parking, public parking, just signage to get people to the one main door. We have not shut the north door to employees only yet, but the full parking lot in the back is wide open. That it seems to be working well. We just got to get people used to parking back there. So there's plenty of parking available.
All right. Department update, financial report. You kind of tiptoed into that a little bit.
covered that. Yeah.
You're still spending money, so
Yeah.
you're not dried up over there. Courthouse boilers and exhaust system.
We talked a little bit about that our last meeting. If you recall, about the exhaust system is our biggest issue right now for those boilers downstairs, and got a major condensation problem. It's starting to eat away at the outside of that housing for the exhaust venting, and so we're working with Jamar and getting some preliminary estimates, and I guess we had some different options of how we're going to vent or would do the new venting up to past the penthouse on the top floor. What we're kind of looking at now is doing away with the trash chute, I guess, that goes up from the third floor all the way to the basement, and using that as kind of the run to go up towards the penthouse. So we've got in talks with Jamar and Hutari to get some estimates on if that's completely feasible, I guess. So that's where we're at right now with that.
All right.
I got a question. Is that something a local contractor could tackle or no?
Well, we're working with Hutari to do the construction phase of that. So he's usually when we do open bids, tends to be the open bidder. Well, if it's greater than 25,000, it'll be an RFP. So Jamar is usually the ones that help us at least design the project. They'll help us with the RFP, and then it'll go in the newspaper, and any local person could
I
bid
just
on it.
thought I heard you mention like the $100,000 range last time. No,
That's for a different project.
Oh.
This one, we think we're estimating between like 30 and 60, depending on what options we look at. So it'll be an RFP. It'll go out in the newspaper, and if somebody locally wants to do it, they're
Very
more
good.
than welcome.
Okay. The electrical panel.
That's been our biggest unforeseen issue, I guess, in the last month here. We had a major problem with the main electrical panel that comes into this building. It's obviously original to the courthouse, and starting to show its wear and tear, I guess. But I wanted to start talking about this and thinking about maybe updating that panel here in the future. Right now, so what happened was we had an actual, what it is that panel has buckets in it that has all the large fuses that disconnects, I guess, that would go branch off then from there to the different fuse panels throughout the buildings. What happened is one of those buckets went out on us, causing numerous electrical issues. We actually had a pump that went out on us for the heating system. That particular bucket covered the boiler room, so it was the pumps. It was an original pump that ended up running on single phase, and then just it ended up frying out. So we have to get that pump replaced, and preliminary estimates on that is about $12,000 just for that pump and the replacement of that. So we're kind of looking at trying to do that and see if insurance will cover that, because it was a byproduct of the electrical problem. But that's our issue right now with the electrical panel. That panel can be upwards for installation, equipment and installation, possibly 150,000 for that. So it's major undertaking, but
Yeah, so when the power went out on that, like Josh said, we had a pump go out. We're running on one pump now. Again, we're going to try for insurance claim on it. When we look at that pump, there is recommendations to upgrade to have a,
VFDs,
VFD on
which we've
it.
been putting on various air handlers. Probably heard me talk about that before. It's more of an efficient starter, I guess, for those different kinds of motors. It's a controller that controls how fast it goes, rather than just having a pump go on and off, and that huge amperage draw that it initially takes, to start something up. It controls that better and lasts, or helps with the longevity of the pumps. Like I said, it's more efficient, so it's cost reduction. We've been putting them on all of our new equipment, pumps and air handler units, I guess.
The other area that we had issues when the power went out was our IT server room. We had some air conditioner problems, so we temporarily were running it with floor air conditioners. We had two of them going over the original, or the one that's in there. The one that is in there, we got up and running right now. We're looking at options. We have one old system that we pulled out of the sheriff's office that we may be able to use. Otherwise, we're looking at what the cost of a new air conditioner system for the IT server room would be to replace that, because when the power went out, that something happened in the air conditioner that isn't making it consistently run.
Hard to beat those mini splits when it comes to IT rooms like that.
That's what's in there now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, maybe have a second one on a whole separate circuit or leg of the power coming into the building, something like that. But those things run so efficiently and they take up such little room.
Yeah. And that one that's in there now was actually
I used.
a used one that we had pulled out 4 or 5 years ago when I was first starting in this position. And so it was a used one that went in to replace the one that went bad last time. So we've gotten, like I said, 4 or 5 years out of this one until now it's starting to give us issues. And
Yeah.
so
Going back to the electrical panel, we did put it on our capital improvement projects for next year for consideration during the budget, because it is getting to that point where it was really difficult to find pieces to replace whatever they pulled in and put back in. So we did get a general estimate. That's what Josh was
yeah,
talking
I'm
about.
sorry. I guess I didn't really cover that very well. So that bucket that we had to replace, so Peeper Electric came in, they were able to find a used refurbished bucket to install. So we came in one night last week I think it was.
Yeah, Friday.
And Peeper actually was able to replace that bucket. It was the last one that they could find. So right now we're kind of running on borrowed time as far as that whole panel goes. If something else goes out on it, it's going to be an issue. So, but yeah, I guess I didn't cover that very well. And just to get that bucket, yeah, like I said, we got up and running now, as of now. But I wanted to get it in everyone's heads that we're going to have to do something with this. So,
And if you haven't had a chance at some point, get with Josh and go down there and look at the room and look at this stuff so you get a better idea we're talking about half a wall worth of old
yeah,
big breakers. And
I'd be more than happy to take anyone for a tour at any time. So,
yeah. So, all right. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, we kind of covered the old treasurer's office. Furniture's coming there.
yep.
Just
About wrapping her up.
jumping back up to number 5 quick, one thing we didn't mention, we did have a leak up at the airport that Josh and his crew are working on, and highway. So the old terminal, it's that blue building, what would be west of the airport when you drive in. We went to rent out that building to American Asphalt. So Roger was going to go give him a tour, because when they do construction projects, instead of them dragging in a trailer, in the past we've allowed them to rent that space out as their construction office. When they entered the building, there was standing water in the building. They had checked it approximately a week prior to that, because Mike at the airport just does general maintenance and watches, make sure the heat's on, things like that. When we entered the building, it had lots of water. So we called Scott from
Master Clean.
They came and dried out as much as they could. But there is significant water damage in that building. It is a unused, we use it very little. Like we said, we rent it out during projects. It had been used in the past for a couple things, but right now we're waiting to determine what insurance is going to do. We're working with them. We're working with our broker with insurance. It is all dried out. There is some mold. There's some definitely water damage. We'll figure out what we're going to do. We do have some ideas. Roger and Mike and Josh and I have sat down. We can bring it back up to an old terminal. That's one option. It hasn't been used as that for a while. One option that Mike brought forward was making it into a storage, so garage. It's a cinder block building, so we would just get everything, gut it, and then put a garage door on one end and a small garage door on the other end, so they could get lawnmowers. Their truck could park in there. We can always use storage up at the airport. We don't know until we finalize everything with insurance.
So does the building actually sit on airport property?
Correct. Yep. So it's the old terminal.
So selling it wouldn't be the best option?
No. I don't think well, it's been more than 20 years. I don't know if it's recently got any funding. So I don't think you could sell it because it's on the property, but as far as like equipment or anything, you have to maintain for 20 years.
I think there's other FAA buildings right there. like,
Yeah,
right
there's
next to it
so
as
right
far
next
as
to her that
the
shares
antennas, antenna buildings and
yeah,
whatnot.
there's the radar antenna building, whatever it is, that it shares electricity. So that's
Okay.
part of the problem.
Anything else from Josh? Buildings and grounds? Oh, we're good.
Any questions?
None appearing.
All right.
All right, thank you, Josh.
You.
We'll move on to Joel on Forestry and Parks.
Okay, the first thing is that
Solberg expansion.
I included in the packet just a map of the expansion area and then also the bids from some of the things that we bid out. You can see the 4 lowest bidders were awarded the bids. Monaco grading for the site clearing.
How are they so much cheaper, Joel? Cheap's not always good.
It's not. No, we'll find out. I did call and get reference from people too. So hopefully it is good, I guess. I did get good references for the Monaco grading. Same with sewer, water, and septic was way cheaper. And I called on that guy, talked to a different county actually that had him do something, and he's done multiple quick trip projects and whatever. So sounded like he did a really nice job for the last one, and he was way cheaper on theirs as well. So
That was clearing everything on the map.
what's that?
That was clearing on the map.
What are you talking about? Are you
The job.
Site clearing and prep, the first bid.
Yep, that's for the roads, sites. Yeah, and the drain field area.
The campsites, not the whole site. So roads,
Right.
campsites.
Yeah.
So I guess my feeling there when I look at it and know how contractors do their bidding, he bid on the sewer and water and that, and maybe it was a combination of the two, and he was hoping to get them both.
No, he just bid on one.
Did he?
Yep.
Monaco grading. Yeah, I was
Correct.
thinking of the sewer and water guy. Because there again, that same question should come up there. How come it was so much cheaper than everybody else?
Yep, and that's the guy I was talking about that did the
Quick trips.
quick trips
Yeah.
and did a big septic system for Washburn County last year.
And the well is in, you said already?
Yep. So they came out, they drilled the first one. They only got 18 gallons per minute. So we had to put a second well in because we need 25 to have pressure out on the lines. So there's 2 of them actually.
Or are we gonna split the park then, or are we gonna just tie them together?
No, it'll go to one central
Okay.
pump house, and then there'll be 2 big tanks in there for the pressure tanks, and then
So did that affect our bid price then, having to do 2 or?
yeah, and that was a possibility with the bid. It was bid on one, but then dollars per feet for the next. So
Question.
Yes, Patty?
What is on Minocqua grading and then sewer water, the Edward? What are the chances they throw in add-ons, or what do they call it?
Add-ons.
Add-ons.
well,
know-
just like anything with this project,
Their bids.
their bids, but I also had same with electric. The footage, because it's not staked out, exact footage is not there. So it was an approximate, and then I had them put what's your dollar per foot for extra line.
Additional.
Yes. So there will be, these won't be perfect numbers because of that. There will be the same thing with Minocqua grading. That site that's based off of LiDAR versus having an engineer to spend about $50,000 on site planning and have perfect numbers. There's going to
Company
be,
has LiDAR.
there's, what's that?
Their company has LiDAR that they use.
No.
County
we
head
do.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on the county website. Yeah. So that, that's based off of that. So you're going to have some spots where they actually need to bring in 3 feet of material versus, you're averaging out, a foot and a half or whatever it is. So, so those numbers aren't perfect. We bid it off of a number, and then we have equipment rates for beyond that, because that's going to be one of those things where there's going to have to be adjustments on what happens with that. So yeah, they aren't perfect numbers. If we wanted that, go back and we could look at what Park Falls is paying for their park. I don't know what they came in with, $3 million when you go through a company. So
That's why I get concerned.
That's-
They had all new equipment on that job. They clearly bid it way high and brand new equipment, everything.
yeah,
You can see how they manage that.
good for them. Yeah. So this is the way we're doing it, to try to keep costs to
Yeah, I agree.
a minimum. And so they are going to have to, I almost guarantee the Minocqua grading one, we're going to have to haul in probably more material at some point. There's going to be spots where, possibly where we're dumping material, where it may be advantageous for us to put some gravel there first in order for them to be able to haul efficiently and get that done too. So there's going to be some differences in this cost and what the end cost is. That's, like I said, that's why we put down so we know up front, okay, this is how much you are per, and equipment rates were, not too much difference between per hour hourly rates between guys. It was,
Right. So we assume that everybody is like, this is your base. So for like electrical, and then every foot past that, we know what each person would have charged. So if we assume there's going to be 100 feet of each one of them, we're still better off choosing the lowest bid in these situations. Now, if one of the electricians said, oh, it's $500 a foot, and the other one said it's $50 a foot, now we assume, okay, if there was 100 feet extra, all of a sudden the bids equal out, or it'd be better that's why they're vetted. So we vet each bid, make sure they have background of people that they didn't go into every job and go, we're 80,000. And then all of a sudden every person we called was like, well, they said 80 and we ended up 120. So we get their background. We make sure all the numbers are in line with, if everybody went over by 100 feet, what would that look like?
Okay. Any other questions?
and then one other, American Asphalt, Roger did the stuff, as far as the campground, blacktop, he put that with his bid on things. So that's that last page then too. So. And then on the back, I have the cost tracker. That's just kind of a layout of what kind of looking at for prices so far. As far as the gravel goes, that saved us a lot of money being able to, with the highway doing their crushing in that pit by Mentals, that saved a lot of money on this project because we're able to use county material for that and then haul from their pit. So that's a pretty awesome deal too. So.
Joe, do you remember offhand how long that backhoe rental was for in the vouchers?
Oh,
Like a $4,000 rental, and I'm just curious how many days that is, or weeks.
yeah, it was a week.
A week.
That was that.
The frost ripper.
Yeah, that was for that Georgetown Trail. Yeah. So then I did call a handful of people to try to get somebody out there, but nobody that had one wanted to either come up or didn't have time to do it. And so it was, we can rent one for this amount. And it was like, we got to get the project done. So
Yeah.
whatever it is, it is.
I'm
And
just
then,
curious. I made a phone call, rent a forestry mulcher. It was $9,000 for a month.
oh yeah.
A lot.
You're not kidding.
Any other questions? Patty?
Well, I see we already know Minocqua grading because we've already used them on projects. And some of these other names are on here, so I feel confident if we're using them already and we're happy with them, then keep going. Because if we wouldn't be happy, we'd. Okay.
Yeah, the lowest responsible bidder is what we have to go with, and it's hard not to be a responsible bidder. I mean, if they had 5 bad reviews from the last projects, then we would have to make a conscious decision, but you can't just be, well, I don't like them because their name of their company or.
Well, this committee, when it comes to bidding on our timber jobs,
Yep. same
we've
thing.
blackballed people via vote of the committee here saying that we're not gonna.
Yeah.
We just did one here not long ago, so I would assume it would be the same with these general contractors. If we got hosed over once or twice, we would say,
He's
You're
that
blackballed.
Minocqua grading. He does a lot of work in the Vilas County, Northern Highland, and the review was basically, yeah, he does a lot of work for us because he bids cheaper than everybody else and he's efficient with his time. So that was the overarching there where he did for the county over there and the DNR. So
Yeah, we see that a lot with Evans bids with Janix for the like bridges and stuff like that. Their mobilization costs, they're local, they tend to be 20% less than Yankee or some of the other bidders. It's odd. It always happens. It's weird that there's usually one that's just significantly
But you're
different.
saying it's odd that they're higher than the.
No,
Minocqua?
I think it's just funny that like you'd think as a business you would all bid within 2% of each other, but there's always seems to be that oddball that's like,
It's
hey,
mind blowing. It's like 100% different.
yeah, and a lot of times they're in the area. They're in, say if they were building a quick trip, they'd be like, oh, cool, we have off time, we have crews here, we're gonna do it at night, or we're gonna do it in our off hours or in between when the plumbers. So there are reasons that you see these lower bids. Sometimes
well,
they
the
just have crews.
timing of when you get the
Yeah.
bid out. I mean, if guys got their summer full already, they're gonna throw a high bid in.
Yeah, and
Versus guys that
everybody
aren't
else might
completely
too.
filled up are gonna be a little bit more aggressive in their bidding, and
yeah.
you know that.
I just am a fan of local, so
Oh,
you
yeah,
could imagine why.
yeah.
Yeah, and we rarely, we get locals. A lot of times the insurance is the biggest problem with our products and engineering. So like the local HVAC doesn't do commercial HVAC at the size that it is. So Peeper, we're lucky, they're local, they do the bigger electrical stuff, but Jamar is the big boilers. The Hanson isn't coming here to replace the size
understand.
boilers. So I agree. Local's great, but local's not always available. Even when we did the garage over at the normal building, we put out the bids. We talked to all the local and they're, oh yeah, I'd love to do it. Bid went out. Oh, nobody bid on it. So I can only push so far on the getting the locals. A lot of times they're subcontracted. Like, so Jamar will subcontract with the locals, which is nice.
Okay, let's keep moving here. Resolution for the town of Worcester on a termination of a easement that we have there.
yeah, you go ahead.
So I received an email from the town of Worcester that they are getting rid of a piece of property out by Solberg. And through that process, they requested that the easement that's currently on that property be removed. They paid for all the legal work to have that easement, the access across that property removed. So when they sell it, it's a more desirable, buildable property. I talked to Joe a couple times about it. We have access to the county property through other ways. So this easement was not necessary. And so we're bringing it to you as a committee to decide whether or not you're okay giving up this easement going forward.
This isn't something that would have to have a public hearing on it, or we have the authority to just forfeit the easement.
From what I understand is it just has to be a resolution to the board that they're,
I mean, it appears for Forest Road 508, we can get into that chunk of county
Yeah,
through that.
that ATV trail runs on the east side and Pine Tree Lane on the west side, so there's no benefit we're not losing anything by my eyes anyways.
Yep, I personally don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to do that. I mean, certainly the floor is open for discussion here on it if there was any opposition, but based on what you see on the map here,
That's all county land.
yeah, all this back and behind here.
Just curious how come this isn't a zoning issue?
it's a forestry easement, so it's a forestry.
Okay.
Okay, we'd be looking for a motion for an easement if everybody's in. Doesn't have any opposition.
I motion we approve the resolution for termination of easement.
Okay, have a motion by Patty. Looking for a second. I will second it. I can go into discussion now. If there is any further discussion.
The Wooster agreed to pay for all the fees because there'd be a new deed that'd be filed for that piece of property without the easement on it. They paid for all the legal work through Slaby Data. We did waive that we'd have a separate lawyer because there's no reason. They used Christina Ritz for this. We use Christina Ritz. There's not a conflict, so we did use the same legal for the situation. It would still, with approval today, it goes to the full board for consideration.
So when you,
How do you mean?
What was the easement there for?
Well, because years ago in 1948, we didn't have all that property, so we didn't have access to
Oh,
get back
okay.
there. And I believe Pine Tree Lane didn't exist at that time. So that was all put in after the fact. So we didn't have access to it.
So it's affecting no one, it just.
No,
has to
it's
be
just,
done.
it's just our county property back there and we didn't have access to it from here or here at that time.
Gotcha.
Now we do,
The flowage wasn't there in 48.
wasn't it?
I don't think so.
I thought that was like in 20 that was put in, but
I was thinking 50s, but
oh,
maybe I'm wrong.
yeah. Some old guy out there said he used to own all the property around there that,
Could be
Yeah.
completely wrong.
so he was alive yet. I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, and I assume Wooster has plans why they want to sell it, so I think I got an idea what one of them
They
is.
split that, but
Yeah.
yes, that would be.
Yeah. But selling it and getting it on the tax roll is a better option. So,
I'll take your word for it.
okay. All right. Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All right. Opposed? Carry of that motion.
At the board meeting, do you think we need do you want Christina here or somebody from the town of Wooster on why, or are you comfortable explaining it?
It wouldn't hurt to have at least the Wooster people here explaining.
Okay.
I mean, I can see it why they wouldn't want an easement going across a chunk of property that obviously they have
I'm assuming.
some plan
yeah,
for.
I don't know their plan, but if you say you were to split that into say 3 properties, buildable properties, the one with the easement going down the middle would not be buildable because you can't build on top of an easement. So it reduces the value, would be my guess as a potential option for that property.
Wouldn't hurt to have somebody here.
I'll request, I can't guarantee they're gonna show up. Was it Jim? Jim's been the one talking to us.
All right. Resolution for Lower Steve Creek Flowage Dam. Enumeration signatory designation. That's gonna be Joel, I would assume, right?
Yeah, so on any of these signature ones, we usually just put a position on there. So forest administrator, this is part of, they need this in order to issue the grant, basically, so.
So you're gonna be the the forest administrator is gonna be the focal point for.
Yeah.
That.
The signatory, yeah.
Yeah. Any questions on this one? Pretty straightforward.
And this particular resolution as well, part of it, like we said before in past meetings, the 750 is our cap, right? We don't want to go over that. The resolution itself can't say that we're not going to go over that. That was part of the DNR's thing. It says you have to just say this, that, agrees to pay the share or whatever. So I would just make the comment that we're still under the understanding that if for some reason something comes back more than 750, that's got to come before. And just because this is passed doesn't mean that we're signing up to do an expensive project that goes more. So.
And that should be in our minutes from before that we said that 750 is all that was gonna get spent on the project.
Right.
Yeah, and like Joe said, the DNR is not, they say you're committing to this project, not, we'll communicate that what's happening if it starts getting close. It's going to be tough to be like, shut them off. That you are agreeing by changing this language that the project is the project, and that's why they do it, right? Because they don't know the variables. Joe will communicate with the committee, with the board. We'll keep everybody up to date, but it's not, you hit that $sign and you shut the door. That's not what you're agreeing to. You're agreeing to finish this project or do this project.
Right. And just because this is passed doesn't mean that we can't say at a certain point, well, no, we're not doing this project. That still can happen, but they need this in order to do the grant agreement. To get that signed, we have to have this resolution. So I would just, under the understanding, if all of a sudden, for some reason, something comes back high, well, then we'd be coming back here and talking. So.
And I think you did ask him that question that we could, if we pay our engineering, because we have to, because that's done, that we could give them back the balance of the money and say, we're not using anymore.
The 750 is for replacing the thing. If we're going to take it out, then that's we'd apply for it'd be the same grant, but a different grant to do it. We'd be out the engineering fee.
I thought this was all said and done, the money about
It
this.
is, but
So this
we
goes
still
outside your
need-
job description, that's
we,
what it's
we,
saying?
we still need to have the signatory part of it because they're doing it so they put it in the budget, but then they're doing it as a grant, basically is how they're writing it up. They're doing it under their grant program, so they still have to take the steps and I still have to fill out the grant paperwork.
Okay.
So
a lot of grants, they require us to name a signator. It's not that it's out of your job description
Yeah.
or anybody, it's the board needs to give permission to someone, whether it's your board chair, whether it's Joe, whether it's me. Usually we pick the individual that's working directly with the project, hence Joe. Usually we try to add it in right away when we do these resolutions. It was one thing that we didn't know we needed upfront.
Yeah, they didn't specify right away how that enumeration was going to be
Right.
given out, and that was later on. They said, "Well, we're going to do it through the dam grant program." So
And we put in that it says like the forest position or whatever. We don't put names because we're at highway. We put George Molnar on there. Well, George retired in the middle of a project. Now you got to come back. And so we give it the position, the county
The
position
title,
to
yeah.
do it.
Well, I make a motion to list Joe as the signature, or however you say it.
Price County Forest and Parks Administrator. All right.
Beautiful.
So I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Patty. Any other discussion? None heard. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next resolution is designating general fund money for parcel replanting. We kind of go through this on all of our big jobs that we replant red pine.
So there's two sales for this current bid opening, 525, 1225, containing plantation. We'd like to keep them as plantation. One's a red and white pine, Camp 5 area. The other one is down off of Hobbles Creek Road, south of Kennon. That was a spruce plantation. Some of it's a failed spruce plantation.
Just did.
Some of the plantation got blown down by a tornado before, so kind of a combination, but we would like to plant that back to red pine as well. So
Red pine's the way to go.
I'll make a motion.
They have a motion by Michelle,
Second.
second by Patty. Any other discussion? Where were these two jobs at, Joel?
Camp 5 and then Hobbles Creek Road is south of Kennon on that
Okay.
Hogs Back Road.
Yep, all right. All right. Have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
This is the first time I've seen this since I've been on the board. Do we do this a lot?
We do this every
It
year.
is.
It wouldn't be every year.
Well,
We haven't
but
done
we did it for that big job up in Lugerville, the replanting. We did it for the job on K.
We did one on Camp 5
Yeah, it's been probably 4 or 5
year
years.
year and a half ago, maybe we did one. Camp
So
5,
maybe
2 years ago.
on
Yeah.
here.
I would say the last resolution's been a while since we've done this, but once the resolution happens, it's what, a 2-year process, 3-year process?
Yeah, well, it depends on when it gets cut. So you got to get it cut, and then you got to wait for it to rot down a little bit, a year, and then you come in and do your site prep and then plant the following. So usually once it gets cut, it's usually a 2-year.
Cause they come in and spray it and it's the process we go through to replant. I don't know if it's always been, if there was many years where we didn't replant or we just,
Well, they didn't do a lot of, we weren't on rotation on a lot of these plantations for a while, and now we're hitting that point where they're starting to get to size wise, they're getting outside of
final cutting.
Yeah, well, even just the diameter, like Buers, they're that 18, 20-inch diameter. So you're starting to get trees that are getting significantly bigger than that within your plantations. And so you look at value-wise where you're at there with that. If at a certain point you got to rotate and restart. So
And this is really the way, as a forestry department for sustainability, we got Buer Sawmill down there, which is a great employer in Price County. This is helping them make business decisions
Yeah,
down the road.
This all started probably 8-10 years ago, or it might have been a little bit longer, but I remember when we first started, the problem was we needed to budget money to be able to do this or come out of the general fund. And the problem was we weren't doing these type of plantings every year. So you couldn't just say, oh, every year put $55,000 or $60,000 in the budget, because 2 years in a row you wouldn't use it and then all of a sudden you'd need it. So the board at that time said best way to do it is just, we know that we're making extra money on these bigger plantations. It goes into the general fund, and so make a resolution that says at the time needed, instead of trying to budget for it and go up and down in the budget, the general, it would be paid out of general fund, because that's where the money,
And the only other
additional
way
funds-
to really do it would be to say X percentage of our stumpage goes into a replanting fund, which kind of is almost what we're doing anyway. We're
That's what I
just-
was wondering. Are we
yeah,
able to do
that's-
more?
A
Well,
lot of stuff we have is you get natural regeneration, so you stay with that, and then plantations.
Yeah, but for
That's-
lumber purposes, I mean, there's a,
Yeah, there's a certain extent to what you got to have the right sites available for it as well. So, and it's good to have a good diversity of what we have.
so is there
too,
any way to
so.
do more, or is it
Well,
boil
we
down
did-
to the money?
we did do one job, that one out here where we got the 20 acres or 40 acres
Right.
out on W. That was it blew down in the storm in 76 and it come up all junky maple and balsam and whatnot. And that job we're going to replant in red
So
pine.
where it financially makes sense,
Yep.
when we're looking at a spot that's,
What
either
percentage of
to-
our county land is select cut for,
are you talking pine or are you talking?
I guess select cut in general?
Well, like hardwood, we have that right around, well, red maple and hardwood probably around that 14 to 15,000 of the acres are that, and then pine and spruce and whatever plantations, a couple thousand acres. So that's about what you're looking at. We have, mainly our forest we have 45,000 acres of aspen. So
That's
that's
And we don't want to plant red pine in the swamp. So I think where it makes sense, like that job out there, it wasn't going to regenerate in anything decent,
Mhm.
so
We had one on Old 13 where we did the same thing. At one time, it was some hardwood that they tried something and it didn't really work. It was underneath was not there. There just wasn't much there, and so we're putting it to pine and let that come up. So
it's a good decision. I mean, by us planting pine, I think it shows commitment to us. To
Absolutely. I
viewers.
was just wondering if we can do more.
Yeah.
The
Well-
current administration is all about planting trees and whatnot, so
Yeah.
making lumber out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the future of our revenue.
I live in the national forest and it's just literally sitting there rotting. There's no good use of trees in there.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
All right. Spring timber sale packet.
packet includes 17 sales. Overall, it's 1,280 acres. It does include 1924 was a sale that did not sell last fall. So that'll be put back out for bids as well. Otherwise, it's a combination of, we got some hardwood, some aspen sales, mix of red maple, swamp hardwood, pine and spruce. So good mix of sales. The advertised value is 582,000.
I don't know, do we need a motion to release them bids?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Michelle's making a motion to release these bids as presented. These timber sales,
I'll second.
second by Michelle. Any other
I
discussion?
can't second my own motion, Jeff.
Or Patty, sorry. I wasn't looking, I just heard the voice. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Here's the sheet I'm looking for. the whole time. Okay, we have a timber sale extension you want to talk about.
Okay, so the list of extensions, that's the page one with the colored, colored cells. Typically, you know, you can see on the left the number of the extension number it is. You know, there's some that are just the first year are all white. Then you get into the orange, blue, and that one that's Kendall logging should be a gray, but our printers are not great, so it doesn't show it as that.
Let's not use blue next time.
The down below just the, you know, between the orange, so typically the orange ones, the lighter orange colored, in the past, if a person's been logging on the county, we haven't messed with their rates on the rest of their sales. And those contractors all were working on the county or making attempts. We actually got a few old sales cleaned up. Got quite a few still to go, but the other ones, there was 4 that did not. There's 2 Central Wisconsin lumber sales. Kafka Logging or Forestry has 1, and Kendall Logging has another. Those 4 in the past, we've done different things for extensions. There's been years where we've done 0% increase. We've done percentage increases on them in the, you know, as well. The one caution, I guess, on a couple of these is, you know, you get to the point where if we keep on jumping them up on price, you know, they're just going to say, we don't want the sale. Then you got to remarket and then resell it. And we're not going to get the rates that we did, like this 11/18 sale currently. I kind of did the math on that, and I can't see them keeping the sale. If we could say, oh, we're going to jack it up 15%, but we get the sale back, we could keep their bond, which is $34,000. But the amount of volume that's out there and what we would look to make is like $150,000. And if we sold it at what sales in the area are going for plus their bond, it'd be about 88,000. So we'd be losing quite a bit of money by doing that. And it might be where we have to take it back at some point because they just don't cut it. I don't know, but
Is it a job that's
hard? It's a hardwood job.
so it's not a winter job that's
It is. Yeah.
waiting for accessibility?
No, I mean they could have cut it this year. You know, this year was good for almost everywhere. You know, so you run into where guys are trying to get stuff done all over the place, and that's what happened to them, I guess. But accessibility this year was as good as you can get, I guess. You know, as far as getting it done, it's a winter job. It's too far off the road. It's down in Green Creek area, and there's no.
A lot of logging down there this winter. There was.
Yeah, and there will be next couple winters. We're getting into where you had a 91, you had a tornado go through there, so you're getting into where that wood is starting to come due.
So your recommendations are down below here. If everybody sees that, you're recommending the extension fees, but no increase in stumpage.
Right. With the same, you know, December 15th, we need you here kind of date.
Mm-hmm. Everybody agree with that? Disagree?
Do you want another motion?
Yep, we need a motion.
Cal, make a motion.
Okay, we'll have a motion to implement Joe's suggested
I will second.
extension fees, 0 stumpage increases. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Did you get that, Meredith? Okay, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry, excuse me, Jeff. Who was
Yes.
the second? I missed.
Jason.
Sorry.
Jason,
Thank you.
he's alive over here. All right, department update and financial report. I think we kind of go over most of it when we're going here, but is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, that Steve Creek, just where we're at on that. So we sent, well, the engineer sent in his final recommendations as far as trying to get stuff passed through the DNR, and they kind of said, wait, we gotta get a couple things done. One was they brought up was about wild rice management on there, and that because it was wild rice waters, they gotta send over the plans to Glyphwick to have that approved or get their blessing on that. Yes, I don't know. That interesting because DNR was planning on taking the thing out, so there wouldn't have been wild rice at all. So I don't know. You'd think water in there and chance of wild rice would be better than what they're proposing before. So
Yeah, and
but
it seems like Derek had even made that comment that by lowering it 2 or 3 inches, that it would eliminate the wild rice.
well, not necessarily. It just you can lower and raise to manage for it, I guess. But anyways, that's just part of the step. So we're waiting on them to get. I did ask where that was at. I haven't heard back yet where they're sitting on that situation. So we're waiting on them to hear back, make sure because that's got to be part of the sign off on the plans. So so that's where we're at. That's why it hasn't been sent out for bids because we're waiting on them. So
All our permits first, sure.
That
Uh,
$13,000 payment, that was like a down payment to Becker Hoppy, because wasn't
Well,
that
they're-
60,000 or?
yeah. So they're working on that. So they're bill usually with the engineers, they'll bill as they kind of go.
Gotcha.
So that was part of the deal there. Fred's doing the ATV applications, general maintenance on ATV trails. So summer gets $1,000 per mile for ATV trails. So, but he has to apply every year for that. Also Smith Lake, that trail had been shut down last summer because the boardwalk broke. Decking was person kind of fell off the side because it was rotten. So we're gonna apply to get that replaced, the boardwalks for that. That's just that small section from that cuts it off so the ATVs aren't going through that windy section of Town Road. So those will be applied for here, April 15th deadline. Salbert, we have a new caretaker out there this summer. She's meeting with Rich this morning, going over what she has to do. Steve Creek, we're working with the DNR on so when we signed over the the dam, some of the things that we needed to do were listed on there. One was clearing the spillway of brush, which the DNR was supposed to do like 12 years ago, and then 10 years before that, they were told to do it and they never did. That was one of the things that they specified on our grant agreement. Nothing about the wild rice, but they did put that. So we did cut that down, and they're going to help us with burning that instead of spraying it, and using herbicides. Figured burn it, get that brush down, maintain it that way. So hopefully conditions give us we get the right conditions to get it done. So that 3 acres between the town road and the dike, try to manage it that way. Park cleanup, when the snow melts, we'll be working on that. Let's see, ATV trail, that was part in there, that Georgetown ATV trail, that last little bit of graveling, that was that part that we had to freeze down to go around the boardwalks in order to get them done. So that's why we had to get the frost tooth and do that. Cranberry Creek, I did get an email on that and update that flowage. She sent in for her numbers to get reviewed, so we're somewhat moving forward, I guess, with that.
Forestry doesn't own a excavator or backhoe? at all?
Highway department does.
Right.
Tim's Hill project, we did get the sent in for reimbursement on that. That was the bathrooms and roads to the tower. I also received in the mail, I had sent, I don't know, multiple times said sent for signed easements with the landowner, to the north, and I just got it in the mail. That was probably a year and a half or 2 years ago that I sent that to them, and all of a sudden got it in the mail. So they did sign that too, to go, come in through the, be the old DNR bridge going to the fire tower that way too. So that's kind of nice to have. So, yeah. That's kind of the update, I guess.
Okay. All right. With that, Michelle can go back to work. Well, we are adjourned.
Thank you. What is the name of our